you guys our meatball recipe, and Savannah's going to help us out with that. And you can do a lot of different things with meatballs. You can eat them by themselves. You can put them in a tomato sauce, or you can eat them with spaghetti or noodles. There's just numerous things you can do with meatballs, and we like to make a bunch of them at one time, and sometimes we'll freeze them and get them out later to use in various ways. But so today we're going to show you how to make the meatball and how we cook it, and so that it's nice and tender and has a lot of flavor. So what we want to do is we're going to start off with a pound of hamburger meat. So we're going to put that in there in our bowl. And I buy hamburger meat by the tubes, so I divide it up into 1 pound units and then get it out as I need it. It's a lot cheaper that way, as high as everything is now, high as beef is. So we're going to do 1 pound of ground beef, and that's an 80-20 ground beef, but you can use a 90-10 if you like, but I like the 80-20. It has a little bit more fat in it, and as we know, fat is always flavor. So now we're going to add a pound of pork. Just pork you can buy at your local grocery store. It's just ground pork. It's not sausage, but you can use patty sausage if that's all you have. You could actually use patty sausage in this. But today we're using ground pork, a pound of ground pork to a pound of ground beef. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get Savannah to mix that together for us real well. And she just loves to get her hands in raw meat, she says. So we're going to mix this together, and then we're going to start adding our seasonings to our meatballs. So that's pretty good, Susan. All right, here you go. Yeah, just for right now, I think that'll be fine. That's just a rough mix. And we'll start adding our seasonings. And so we're going to add a teaspoon of salt. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of salt, I'm sorry. And I'm using a Himalayan salt, pink salt, but you can use whatever you want to. And then we're going to add some onion powder. I don't have these measured out ahead of time. I should have. But that's a teaspoon of onion powder. I'm going to go with about 1.5 teaspoons of onion powder. Onion is it's always a good thing to have. You can't have enough onion, in my opinion. So we're going to go with a teaspoon of garlic powder, granulated garlic, and black pepper, about 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. And we got paprika for color. Let's give your paprika always gives food, especially fried foods, a nice pretty texture. A nice pretty, not a texture, but a look, a finish. A nice pretty golden finish. Color, yeah. I'll get it out in a minute. So we're going to go with, so we did a teaspoon of paprika, and we're going to do about a teaspoon of oregano, or maybe a 3/4 of a teaspoon, according to how much you like oregano. These seasonings, you just kind of have to see what suits you. You know, that's why I say not everybody's palate is the same. So we did about 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon of ground sage, and then we're going to do thyme, about 1/2 teaspoon of thyme. Okay. So we want a lot of flavor in these meatballs. All right. So now Savannah's going to break up 3 eggs. Meatballs take a lot of ingredients. A really good meatball. But I'm telling you, it's really worth it to have a good meatball. It's really worth the effort. Those meatballs you buy at the store, man, those things are awful. And love to make homemade meatballs. I love Italian food to begin with, but I try not to eat too many noodles, too much pasta. A lot of pasta's not good for you. And one of the things I didn't get out is really important to this dish. If you don't put anything else in it, you want to make sure you put your Parmesan cheese in it. Let's see. All right, we're going to grate a little bit of this. Now this is fresh, right off the hook. You really don't want to buy it already shredded. I don't know what that stuff is, but it has no flavor at all. You can see I'm gonna just grate some fresh Reggiano here. Listen guys, if it doesn't have its stamped Parmigiano Reggiano on the rind of this cheese, I don't know if y'all can see that. And when you buy a hook of this cheese, you make sure it has that stamp on it. Okay, you see that? See those words right there? If it doesn't have that stamp on it, it is not authentic. Leave it in the store, okay? So we're going to put about half a cup of, this is a really strong cheese, and the stuff you buy out of the store is just, it's already pre-shredded. It's just, it doesn't have any flavor to it at all. If you ever eat the real thing, you'll know it. You'll know it when you have it next time. Because it's really sharp, and it really has a unique flavor to it. So we got our cheese in it, and one of the things that we're going to put in it now is a few crushed up crackers. So normally I would take and put these in like a food processor, and we're just going to crush these up real good in here. Put them in the food processor and ground them up real fine, and they'll really fit into your dish really well, and no one would ever be able to tell they were in there. But when I'm cooking them for myself, it really doesn't. I really don't really worry about the looks of the meatball. But so I'm putting 5 or 6 crushed up crackers, saltine crackers, in here. Okay. So we're going to get Savannah to mix this up real good for us, and then we're going to roll out some meatballs. Okay, so we have our meat mixture mixed up. So now it's time for us to roll these out into meatballs and place them in our frying pan. And just have just a skillet here. We're going to put these in, and what we're going to do is carry these to the stove when we get finished rolling them out, and brown them a little bit. And then put them in our spaghetti sauce. Well, not really spaghetti sauce, but our tomato sauce. If you're not making spaghetti, then it wouldn't be spaghetti sauce. But we're going to finish these off in our tomato sauce. So if you have a disher, that would be fine if you want to dish these out. But I like to roll them out by hand, and we want to make them about 1 inch, somewhere around that area. So we're going to roll all these out and place them in our pan about 1 inch in size. All right, so we have our meatballs. We finished rolling our meatballs out, and you can see that we have them in our frying pan here. And so what we're going to do, we're going to carry these over to the stove and brown them. We had a few left that wouldn't fit in the pan, but we'll get those worked in. And we're going to carry these over to the stove and brown these on each side, and then put them over in our tomato sauce. We'll show you how to do that as well. All right. Okay, guys. So we browned our meatballs on top of the stove. You can see that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take our meatballs and put them in our tomatoes, set them down in our tomato sauce. And now this tomato sauce is a large can of crushed tomatoes, Roma tomatoes, and then I've seasoned it. So I made my own sauce, but you can also buy a can of sauce as well. It's already a jar of spaghetti sauce will do just fine as well. And it really makes these moist and tender when you cook them in this sauce. Like finish cooking them off in your sauce. But if you don't want to do this, when you get through browning these, you can put them on a cookie sheet and finish them off in the oven. And then you can either freeze them or just eat them by themselves, or however you want to do it. Ladle sauce over them, and just do it any way you want to do it. So what I'm doing today, though, we're just going to we're just taking the meatball and we're going to cover it in this tomato sauce, and we're going to put the lid on it. I'm going to add a little bit of water to this, just so things don't get too thick and burn while the meatballs are cooking through with the sauce. Just a little bit, not much. It'll evaporate back out. And you just kind of want to be a little gentle, because your meatballs are going to be kind of tender until they get cooked through. So I just covered these like this. You can probably see them. They're in there, and they're covered pretty good with the sauce, with the spaghetti sauce. So I'm just going to put my lid back on and put my sauce on low. And like I said, this is I've actually made. You can make your own tomato sauce, or you can buy a tomato sauce that's out of a jar. However you want to do it. It's gonna turn out really, really good either way you do it. Or if you don't want them in a tomato sauce, just put them on a cookie sheet, put them in an oven on 350, and finish them off like that once you've browned them on top of the stove. Then you can take, once you've cooked them and finished them in the oven, put them on a cookie sheet, another cookie sheet, a clean cookie sheet, and freeze them. And then you can put them in a Ziploc bag when you get them froze, and then you can take them out a few at a time and do what you want to do with them like that. Okay, so that'll do it for the meatballs. Appreciate you guys watching. Hope y'all got something out of this video so you can make some good meatballs for your family.